Hello, everybody. Before we start the show, I wanted to go through and talk to you about our sponsors. MyPatriotSupply this week has specials on a buy one, get one on a 4-week food supply. And they also have generators on a buy one, get one. Each generator includes a free solar panel. Their generators are for indoor and outdoor use as they run completely off of the electric batteries. Now, over to EMP Shield specials. They have 50% off by using my link in the description below. They also have some other specials over there from $20 to $200 off if you buy some items in bulk from 2 or more items. So go check them out either during the show or after the show, but whenever you go, just make sure you check them out. And I appreciate that. And you all enjoy the show, and we'll see you afterwards. All right, hello everyone. We're diving back into Sasquatch and Dogman because the sheer volume of first-hand accounts demands the attention. Tens of thousands of people have come forward sharing their experiences with podcasters like Steve over at How to Hunt and some of the other podcasts out there that deal with cryptids. So right now, they fear, a lot of these people, they never came forward because they fear ridicule, their job loss, being labeled crazy. But for every story told, countless more remain buried, people too afraid to speak, left haunted by encounters that have changed their lives. Some never set foot in the woods again, and abandoning camping, fishing, or even stepping outside at night. So we've seen this pattern before. Think back to UFOs, decades of silence, countless witnesses dismissed, pilots warned against speaking out. But eventually the floodgates opened, and now the government openly acknowledges UAPs. How much longer before Sasquatch, Dogman, and the multitude of cryptids lurking in the shadows get the same attention? These encounters aren't going away. So why is the official stance still silence? We're going to talk about this tonight and quite a few other things. Tonight's episode is Echoes in the Dark, the truth behind Sasquatch and Dogman. So most of our show will be on a slideshow, so I'm going to switch over to that real quick.
These are Ron's recordings of Bigfoot
that.
sounds in the wild.
Sorry about that. That shouldn't have been on yet. All right. So, supernatural versus lab created. Are these beings products of nature, supernatural forces, or something engineered? Since the earliest days of human civilization, legends have whispered about towering, mysterious creatures lurking at the edges of our world. But as modern technology advances, so do the theories surrounding their origins. Are Sasquatch and Dogman truly natural beings, remnants of a lost age? Or are they something else entirely, genetically altered entities, engineered deep within hidden laboratories? Tonight, we explore the possibilities. So Dogman, under lab-created evidence. For years, speculation has swirled that Dogman might not be an organic species at all, but instead a result of military experimentation designed for purposes unknown. Several first-hand encounters add weight to this theory, revealing traits beyond natural evolution. So there was the Fort Polk, Louisiana encounter back in 1981. So just a short little thing about part of the story about that is during a large-scale military training operation at Fort Polk, Louisiana. Again, this was in 1981. A soldier stationed in the remote wooded area witnessed something unnatural. It wasn't just its towering stature or glowing amber eyes, it was how it moved. The creature darted between trees with precision far beyond any wolf or coyote, using speed that seemed calculated, as if it knew it was being observed. This wasn't random animal behavior, it was a tactical movement, something expected in trained soldiers but never in wild predators. The soldier later speculated that what he had seen wasn't just a creature, it was something engineered, perhaps modified for survival or combat. So then we have the Land Between the Lakes incident. The infamous LBL Dogman case further suggests military involvement. According to reports, a special operations team was secretly deployed after multiple hikers and campers disappeared. Now, if you remember in our intro here, we showed some clips from that. So these hikers and campers disappeared with eerie details matching Dogman sightings. Unnatural aggression, inhuman speed, and a complete lack of fear toward armed personnel. Traits that seemed almost designed rather than evolved. The question lingers, if Dogman was engineered, who created it and why? So then we move on to the Nephilim connection with Sasquatch. While theories around Dogman lead towards laboratory origins, Sasquatch seems linked to something ancient, possibly biblical. Accounts from history, scripture, and indigenous cultures all paint a picture of giant beings, mysterious in nature and often feared. Ron Moorhead's research, The Intelligent Sasquatch, he's a veteran Bigfoot investigator, and he had spent decades analyzing intelligence and behavioral patterns of Sasquatch. In one case, he documented samurai chatter, an eerie series of vocalizations exchanged between multiple Sasquatch individuals. The sounds suggest language, something beyond primal communication, reinforcing theories that Sasquatch isn't merely an animal, but something closer to ancient humanoids. So I actually have, now we'll play it in the right order, an audio clip for you so you can hear what recordings of what they actually sound like.
These are Ron's recordings of Bigfoot sounds in the wild.
Right there, just seen movement right through there.
Wow, that's pretty crazy. So let's get back up to our next image. Some researchers compare Sasquatch intelligence to descriptions of Nephilim, the giant offspring of fallen angels and humans referenced in the book of Genesis. The implications: Sasquatch may not just be a relic of the past, but a living piece of biblical history hidden from civilization. Then we have some Alaskan encounters, like talking about strategic movement and communication. Deep in Alaska's wilderness, hunters report seeing Sasquatch exhibit behavior that defies traditional animal instincts. One detailed encounter describes a Sasquatch signaling to another, using subtle gestures before retreating in formation. As if following coordinated movement patterns, this behavior mirrors military tactics, a level of intelligence far beyond any known primate species. If Sasquatch were simply an undiscovered ape, why would its behavior mimic human strategy? Could these creatures be remnants of ancient giant civilizations cast into hiding after generations of secrecy? Could Dogman be a lab-engineered entity created for military use? Is Sasquatch a surviving remnant of the Nephilim? Or is the truth far more complex, something hidden in the shadows waiting to be uncovered? As we continue to investigate tonight, we'll unravel more encounters, deeper mysteries, and unsettling evidence that suggests these creatures aren't just folklore. They might be part of something bigger than we can imagine. Dogman versus Sasquatch. Enemies or allies? So we're going to examine whether these creatures collaborate, clash, or have a deeper connection. For years, reports of Sasquatch and Dogman have surfaced, but do they share a common purpose, or are they bitter rivals? Some encounters suggest a working relationship. Others reveal violent battles that make one thing clear: if they coexist, it isn't always peaceful. Many researchers and eyewitnesses speculate that these creatures may work together in some capacity, possibly sharing territorial boundaries or even collaborating in unknown ways. Take, for example, the West Virginia witness account from 2015. A seasoned hunter familiar with the deep Appalachian wilderness recounts an eerie encounter. He had set up a camp near a secluded creek, hoping to track deer. As dawn approached, he spotted two massive figures moving in tandem through the fog-covered forest. One was broad and ape-like, the other leaner with canine features. What struck him the most wasn't their appearance, but their behavior. They moved together, covering ground as if in formation, rather than independently. There was no hostility, just coordination, as if they were working toward a shared goal. The hunter remained frozen in his blind, watching as the figures silently disappeared into the brush, their presence unnerving and synchronized. And then let's look at the Kentucky cave incident from 1998. A spelunker exploring an underground cavern system reported encountering both creatures within minutes of each other. Initially, he spotted large humanoid tracks deep within the cave, evidence of something massive moving through the tunnels. Moments later, he heard a deep, guttural growl, followed by unsettling sounds of footsteps echoing in unison. As he retreated toward the surface, his flashlight momentarily illuminated a hulking figure covered in dark fur, watching him from a distance. But before he could process what he was seeing, another pair of glowing eyes appeared in the shadows, this one distinctly more canine in shape. The two beings stood motionless, seemingly aware of each other's presence, but not engaging in conflict. Were they merely coexisting, or was this underground network part of a larger, hidden system they both inhabited? Dogman versus Sasquatch enemies. While some encounters suggest coexistence, others point to violent clashes, possibly territorial disputes, or something much more profound. The Michigan clash in 2007, for example. A witness driving through rural Michigan reported an intense fight between a large, black-furred Sasquatch and a dogman with glowing red eyes. The battle was nothing short of terrifying. Trees snapped as the two creatures collided, the dogman using unnatural speed, weaving between strikes, while the Sasquatch fought with sheer brute strength, landing earth-shaking blows. The witness, paralyzed with fear, watched as the Sasquatch lifted the dogman off the ground, throwing it with tremendous force against a tree. The dogman let out a chilling, almost human-like scream before darting into the darkness. As the witness sped away, one lingering thought chilled them. The battle wasn't a random encounter, it felt deliberate, as if this conflict had been raging long before humans ever noticed. Then we'll look at the Texas Battle in the Woods from 1996. A group of hikers trekking through the dense woods of East Texas encountered what they describe as a ferocious, unseen battle between two massive entities. Deep growls shook the trees, violent crashes echoed through the dense brush, and suddenly the silhouette of a towering figure emerged, a Sasquatch, its presence dominating the clearing. Then a second figure leapt into view, a massive, wolf-headed entity crouched low in a battle-ready stance. What followed was an earth-shattering collision, the two creatures locked in combat, trading vicious blows. The hikers fled before witnessing the outcome, but one of them swore they heard a final, victorious roar, followed by silence. Did the Sasquatch triumph, forcing the dogman to retreat, or was this only one battle in a war that remains unseen? Whether these beings are allies or enemies, one thing is certain: they do interact. Their encounters suggest knowledge of each other's presence, whether as territorial rivals or shared inhabitants of deep forests and underground systems. But are they merely forces of nature, or part of a larger, hidden world we have yet to fully uncover? As we continue our investigation tonight, we dive deeper, exploring biblical origins, cloaking abilities, and missing 411 connections that may reveal the bigger truth behind these cryptids. On the biblical origins, are Sasquatch and Dogman linked to ancient texts? So we'll explore whether these cryptids have ties to biblical giants, fallen entities, or supernatural beings. For centuries, cryptid researchers have debated whether Sasquatch and Dogman are simply undiscovered creatures or something far older, possibly linked to biblical history. Could they be remnants of Nephilim, descendants of Esau, or even supernatural entities with origins beyond human understanding? Does Sasquatch have a Nephilim connection? Many researchers believe Sasquatch could be linked to the Nephilim, the ancient giants mentioned in Genesis 6:4. The passage states there were giants in the earth in those days and also after that, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men and they bore children with them. Some theorists suggest that Sasquatch could be a surviving remnant of these giants, hidden away in remote regions, avoiding human civilization. Their immense size, intelligence, and elusive nature align with descriptions of Nephilim in ancient texts. Earlier we heard Ron Moorhead's recordings, but a little bit more on his research. Cryptid researcher Ron Moorhead explores the possibility that Sasquatch could be linked to Cain, the biblical figure cursed to wander the earth after killing his brother Abel. Some interpretations suggest Cain's descendants may have developed distinct physical traits, possibly evolving into hairy, towering beings described in cryptid encounters. So up here we have a picture of baby Esau, Esau's lineage, the hairy men of the Bible. Another theory connects Sasquatch to Esau, the twin brother of Jacob, described in Genesis 25:25 as being born red all over like a hairy garment. Esau's descendants, known as Edomites, were said to have distinctly hairy appearances, leading some researchers to speculate that Sasquatch could be linked to this ancient lineage. So Dogman. Is Dogman a supernatural warrior? While Sasquatch is often linked to Nephilim, Dogman's origins seem even more mysterious. Some researchers believe Dogman could be tied to ancient warrior figures, possibly even linked to Saint Christopher, a figure described in early texts as having a canine-like appearance. Saint Christopher, the dog-headed warrior, in early Christian texts describes Saint Christopher as a towering warrior with the head of a dog, possibly originating from cynocephaly legend. Some researchers speculate that Dogman could be a descendant of these ancient beings, explaining its aggressive nature, heightened senses, and territorial behavior. Another thing that we have here is like Dogman and fallen entities, the darker connection. So some cryptid investigators suggest Dogman may not be a natural creature at all, but rather a spiritual entity, possibly linked to fallen angels or supernatural forces. Reports of glowing eyes, unnatural speed, and eerie vocalizations hint at something beyond biological evolution. Are Sasquatch and Dogman remnants of biblical giants, supernatural warriors, or something even more mysterious? Their origins remain one of the greatest cryptid enigmas, with ancient texts offering eerie clues that suggest they may have existed far longer than modern science acknowledges. As we continue our investigation tonight, we'll explore missing 411 connections, cloaking abilities, and government secrecy, diving deeper into the hidden truths behind these cryptids. Missing 411, cloaking abilities, and government secrecy. For decades, researchers have documented strange disappearances in natural parks and remote wilderness areas, cases that defy logic and leave families searching for answers. Could Sasquatch and Dogman play a role in these vanishings? And if so, why do certain agencies seem reluctant to investigate them even further? The National Park System is definitely not wanting to look into any of these. They brush it off, and they even, like in David Paulides' case, wanted to charge him millions of dollars for documentation, knowing that he couldn't afford that. So the unexplained disappearances, the missing 411 phenomena investigated by David Paulides, highlights cases where individuals vanish under bizarre circumstances, often in locations where cryptid sightings have been reported. So we have the case of the missing Minnesota hunter. There are thousands of cases. I just picked a few. A hunter in Minnesota disappeared without a trace despite extensive search efforts. His case fits the eerie pattern of missing 411 disappearances where individuals vanish in areas known for Sasquatch and Dogman sightings. Another case where young boys vanished from cars. 2 cases involve young children disappearing from vehicles in rural areas, only to be found miles away under bizarre conditions. How did they travel such distances? Could cryptids or something else be involved? As I mentioned in an earlier show, I not only think, we know that both of these cryptids can move through the woods pretty quickly and quietly, and they get from point A to point B pretty fast. But I also believe that in many cases they can travel through portals. They know where portals are going to open and close and when, where they can be. And I think a lot of these disappearances are through portals, either accidentally or on purpose in that case. So we also have the geographical clusters and we have government resistance. Many disappearances occur in specific clusters, often near national parks. Some researchers believe certain agencies know more than they let on, but refuse to release official records. The national parks are the biggest culprit of keeping things in the dark. Cloaking abilities. How do cryptids evade detection? One of the most baffling aspects of Sasquatch and Dogman encounters is their ability to vanish instantly. Witnesses report seeing these creatures one moment, then gone the next, as if they possess some form of natural or supernatural cloaking ability. Excuse me. There have been cases where people say they were watching a Sasquatch or a Dogman moving through the woods, and it would disappear behind a small tree that was definitely not big enough to hide them, but they never came out the other side of the tree. So that tells me that it's possibly like a portal or something like that. So there's some theories on cryptid camouflage. Some researchers suggest Sasquatch may use biological camouflage similar to how octopus change color. Others believe Dogman's shadow-like movements could indicate an ability to blend into the environment. Eyewitnesses describe encounters where cryptids seem to phase out of existence. You guys remember the Predator movies out there and how this thing would be there and then when you're looking you can't see it in the jungle, but if you look close enough you see a distortion? So that's what they're talking about. They don't leave tracks or physical evidence behind. Could they possess abilities beyond human understanding, or is it possible they have the ability to conjure portals and travel through them? Despite countless reports, official recognition of Sasquatch and Dogman remains elusive. Some believe government agencies actively suppress cryptid research, fearing the implications of their existence. Dr. Jeff Meldrum's research on Bigfoot has faced institutional resistance in his efforts to study Bigfoot scientifically. Why is there such reluctance to acknowledge cryptid evidence? There are some people that believe that Dr. Meldrum is also kind of a gatekeeper, or that he was pressured into, not, especially when it comes to the DNA, not disclosing what the DNA findings are. There are numerous rumors of classified government studies on cryptids, but official records remain sealed or inaccessible. Could agencies be monitoring these creatures in secret? How about they created them and they have tracking? Let's take, for example, the recent declassification of what the government are calling UAPs. We know them as UFOs. Can we expect the same disclosure regarding Sasquatch and Dogman, or any and all of these cryptids as a whole? Are Sasquatch and Dogman responsible for unexplained disappearances? Do they possess cloaking abilities that allow them to evade detection? And why do certain agencies seem determined to keep these mysteries unsolved? Many people are either working together or individually to figure these things out. My belief is that if enough people open up about their encounters and findings and go public with it, the government and certain government agencies might not have a choice but to start selectively at first releasing information to the public, just like they did with the UFOs and UAPs. Cryptid aggression and territorial behavior. While many believe Sasquatch and Dogman are simply elusive creatures, reports suggest they may be highly territorial, aggressive, and even capable of violent interactions. Could these cryptids be defending their domains? And if so, what happens when humans or even other cryptids cross their boundaries? Dogman has a pack mentality and a very aggressive behavior. It's often described as highly intelligent, calculating, and territorial. Witnesses report encounters where Dogman exhibits pack-like behavior, suggesting a structured hierarchy similar to wolves. According to cryptid researchers, Dogman sightings have often involved multiple individuals, hinting at a social structure where alphas, betas, and omegas exist. Some reports suggest outcast dogmen may roam alone, while dominant ones control specific territories. Dogman encounters frequently involve intimidation tactics, such as tapping on windows, stalking hikers, or even chasing vehicles. Some researchers believe dogman enjoys scaring humans, much like how predators test their prey. There are reports of dogman and Sasquatch clashing. We talked about that earlier, possibly over territory. Some witnesses claim to have seen violent interactions, suggesting these cryptids may not always coexist peacefully. While Sasquatch is often portrayed as elusive, some encounters suggest it can be highly territorial and defensive. Many Sasquatch encounters involve rock throwing, loud vocalizations, and tree knocking, behaviors believed to be warnings to intruders. Some researchers suggest that Sasquatch may have hierarchical structures similar to primates. There are reports that Sasquatch charging at hunters, shaking trees, or even physically attacking when provoked. Some believe Sasquatch may defend its territory aggressively, especially if it's got other family members, which we've seen in the past where there are multiple Sasquatch and probably young ones. But most, especially, like I said, if it perceives humans as a threat in those cases. Some cryptid researchers speculate that Sasquatch and Dogman may engage in territorial disputes, possibly explaining why sightings of both creatures rarely occur in the same area. Are Sasquatch and Dogman simply elusive creatures, or are they highly territorial beings capable of violent interactions? Reports suggest they may actively defend their domains, raising unsettling questions about their true nature. As we move into the final section, we'll explore cryptid intelligence, communication methods, and eerie vocalization, diving into how these creatures may be far more advanced than previously thought. One of the most baffling aspects of Sasquatch and Dogman encounters is the suggestion that they may be far more intelligent than we previously thought. Reports of structured communication, eerie vocalizations, and mimicry raise questions about how these creatures interact and whether they possess a form of language or strategic reasoning. Right. The Sierra Sounds. We listened to those already. That was the recording near the beginning of the show. Those were captured by Ron Moorhead. These infamous audio recordings feature Sasquatch vocal exchanges that resemble a primitive yet structured form of language. Some researchers suggest it could be early form of humanoid dialect, hinting at an advanced level of communication. When I listened to it, it sounded to me that it could be something a little bit more advanced than pre-humanoid dialect. It could be something, if it's not ancient, I think it's could possibly be angelic of some type. Several accounts describe witnesses hearing Sasquatch vocalize in complex patterns with deep-toned calls, rhythmic grunts, and even distinct syllables that resemble human speech. I don't know if you all remembered during the audio, it actually sounded like one of the Sasquatch was like, what the F was going on? It almost sounded like he said that. It was funny. Reports suggest also that Sasquatch may use hand signals, tree markings, and environmental manipulation to communicate across distance, similar to early human tribal behaviors. This would include, you see like teepees and certain trees bent over and things just where you've got a tree pulled out of the ground and it's shoved into the ground upside down with the roots up. That's not natural. So Dogman encounters often highly tactical evasion, coordinated stalking, and pack hierarchy, resembling predatory intelligence akin to wolves or military-trained hunters. Many reports describe Dogman tapping on windows, watching individuals for extended periods, and engaging in disturbing behavior meant to intimidate. Is this a sign of cognitive awareness or simply primal hunting tactics? If both Sasquatch and Dogman exhibit vocalization, mimicry, strategic reasoning, and possible language structures, we must ask, Are these cryptids simply elusive animals, or are they something more? Could their intelligence indicate a hybrid origin, lost lineage, or even genetic experimentation? Are Sasquatch and Dogman capable of speech? Do they possess structured communication? And could their intelligence mean that they are more than simple cryptids? David Paulides doesn't believe that Sasquatch should be considered a cryptid anymore, because cryptid is basically something unknown or yet to be discovered fully. And with their DNA evidence that they found, they believe that it has human in it, but they don't know what the other part of the DNA is. We're going to go through that momentarily. So we're going to go through the DNA mystery and hidden truths. So for decades, researchers have sought physical evidence to prove the existence of Sasquatch. Footprints, hair samples, and eyewitness accounts have all contributed to the mystery, but none have shaken the foundation of mainstream science quite like DNA analysis. David Paulides, known for his groundbreaking investigations into missing 411 cases, took a bold step into the world of genetic research with his book Tribal DNA. In it, he presents findings that challenge everything we thought we knew about Bigfoot's origins. When forensic experts analyzed alleged Bigfoot samples, they discovered something unsettling. The mitochondrial DNA, which comes from the mother, was human. The nuclear DNA, which determines species identity, was unknown, not matching any known animal or human in the genetic database. And the genetic database, I'm going to err on the low end, but there are over 1 billion DNA listings, if you will, in that database, and it still came back unknown. So this revelation raises a chilling question. If Bigfoot's nuclear DNA is unknown, could it be something beyond human classification? Some researchers speculate that the Nephilim connection may explain why certain DNA sequences don't match anything in existing records. If fallen angel DNA isn't in the database, how can we rule out the possibility that Bigfoot's genetic makeup is something entirely different? And we could also go the alien route or a dimensional route. I would much more think the dimensional route would be more credible. I still have questions about whether there's actual outer space extraterrestrials. So, a Russian Bigfoot researcher at one of the conferences that David spoke at praised David Paulides for writing Tribal DNA and stated that he was one of the few willing to tell the truth when others wouldn't. This Russian researcher asked David for his signature and if he would sign his book. So this raises another unsettling question. Why is mainstream science reluctant to acknowledge these findings, and what happens when evidence challenges the accepted narrative? These are questions we already know the answer to. They just won't acknowledge something that they can't control. All right. So, on the closing statement, tonight we've explored unsettling disappearances, cryptid aggression, eerie vocalizations, and the mind-bending DNA mystery that challenges everything that we thought we knew. From missing 411 cases that defy logic to unknown nuclear DNA that science can't explain, we've covered fragments of a much larger puzzle, one that mainstream institutions refuse to acknowledge. Are Sasquatch and Dogman simply elusive creatures, or are they something far more profound? Do they possess intelligence beyond our understanding? And most importantly, what happens when undeniable evidence is ignored or suppressed? History has shown us that truth is often inconvenient. When evidence doesn't fit the accepted narrative, it is dismissed, left to linger in the shadows, waiting for those willing to ask the hard questions. But tonight we've asked those questions, and the answers may be closer than what we think. Stay curious, stay questioning, because the unknown is watching back. So some final questions that I want to ask you before we close for the night. If Sasquatch and Dogman possess structured communications, could they have a hidden history intertwined with human civilization? Could the missing nuclear DNA be proof of a hybrid origin, one connected to ancient entities like the Nephilim? Why do certain institutions actively suppress cryptid research despite overwhelming reports and evidence? Is it possible that Dogman and Sasquatch are engaged in territorial conflicts? And if so, what does that say about their survival instincts? What other mysteries remain hidden just beyond our understanding, waiting for the right questions to be asked? Remember, everyone, be safe out there, know your surroundings, keep your head on a swivel. Test and question everything, and if your research brings you anywhere, it should bring you back to Jesus Christ, the living God. God bless everybody out there on the other side of the screen, and we'll see you next show. Have a good night.